Welcome to another free-to-play gaming review right here in our very own Let's Play for Free segment of the Digital Creative Front. Today we will be looking at Star Conflict by Gaijin Entertainment. Star Conflict is the lesser known SC title for sci-fi fans out there seeking to control spaceships and blow holes in enemy hulls. And it is primarily just that, an arena-based combat game. From there on, it offers enough free roaming to enjoy, PvE missions, a special operations game mode, territory control based PvP in open space through guilds, also known as corporations, among others. You build your career profile as a space pilot by purchasing ships, getting experience on them, increasing your personal fleet, keep expanding with your ship purchases and continue with leveling them up to unlock again new ships and keep on moving forward to the final tier of the game. And that is pretty much Star Conflict. The graphics for this kind of game are wonderful. It does not feature crash hot geometry detail and the textures are hardly HD. They are done right though. You will barely notice any lack of attention to the geometry of the models unless you sit and look at every detail of a given ship in your hangar. The textures have their own attention to detail despite their lower resolution quality, which again cannot be noticed during the game and get the job done adequately enough. The developers are clearly going for this route to make the game much more accessible to PCs that are not as strong, and that is okay since this is a game that allows for some wonderful and amazing visuals because it is in space. Making space graphics look good is about the easiest thing for most game engines. The controls are fine, although they don't allow for some of the more advanced simulation like flying. I, for example, would like to be able to turn off my boosters, turn my ship around and have it still float through space in the initial direction it was headed for, as it will naturally in space, whereas Star Conflict performs more like an aircraft within an atmosphere, meaning that facing in any direction will create aerodynamics and friction with air and turn your aircraft into another direction. In fact, it is not even a simulation of that, since most maneuvers in a real atmosphere will have the wings break off completely. To sum it up, it has semi-casual flight interface, very easy to get into and used to on the go, and very reminiscent of an easy mode of proper aircraft flying and first-person shooter movement. If we are to compare it to Star Citizen, the visuals are nowhere near as satisfying and the flight controls nowhere near as fleshed out. But for a free-to-play title to jump into, shoot some enemy spacecraft down, and enjoy some space arena PvP flight combat, it does its job right with above average results. The user interface could do with a little help, and the game has some little tricks here and there a little hard to start to wrap your mind around and figure out since it doesn't do a great job of explaining some of the basics to you, such as your fleet power for example, among others. It includes a lot of content, a large variety of ships to choose from, an overwhelming amount of mods and weapons, and an average amount of map types to explore. The game needs a little better balancing, mostly in how the PvP is split up and the tiers. It used to be much worse, where you will for example enter a new tier in PvP with a rank 4 ship and be pitched against rank 7 ships. But even then it wasn't too bad I guess, as I was able to destroy ships 3 ranks higher than mine and even go on a kill streak of 9 enemies within that same match. And this was all from my first 2 to 3 PvP battles. I stuck to PvP after that for personal preferences. As a result, any experienced player in first-person shooter games or similar titles should not have too much of a problem, though you do feel sometimes as if the enemy can be completely unbalanced and overpowered. However, this is a problem with the tier balancing overall, and not a pay-to-win mechanic as some have called it. And although you can buy your way through all the ships in the game, advancing through them normally by playing the game will create the same result and you will soon find yourself being a rank 7 ship, destroying all the little guys flying around in rank 4 ships. Anyway, one can argue that this is the evolution of the game. You enter a tier small, lose, get better, improve your arsenal, then start kicking butt, and on it goes. A fair argument, since this is how RPGs played out back in the day as well, making a point to characters being different levels until all the whining came from the little crybabies that started to complain over other players that were at a higher level because they simply played the game and followed the natural evolution of leveling up. Content sometimes feels a little lacking since 2 to 3 ships at times may end up being the same ship, just different patterns. But at the same time, there are still plenty of ship designs available and with attention to detail as well. I would say personally that the option to have some of the first rank ship designs in the later tiers will have been nice, as I have warmed up to a few models more than their later versions. The next thing to take notice of is the grind to this game. I've seen a lot of complaints on the grind side of this game. It is a free-to-play game. What in the bloody hell did some people expect? But, as opposed to playing World of Warcraft and paying upwards $5 to $10 a month depending on your country and still being faced with the embodiment of grinding, Star Conflict is a no-no, right? Get some sense, get some perspective, and learn your games. Free-to-play games create revenue from exclusive cash-only content, and from giving you the option of buying again with real cash all the other content sooner as well. Making it too accessible defeats the purpose of putting it on sale to begin with. The grind is a little too much, that much I can agree to, and it feels as such because you do not have too many options when going outside of PvP other than some quick open space missions that tend to get some ridiculous difficulty spikes every once in a while, and your standard PvE missions to level up. Compared to say an action RPG, the grind is the same here if not less, and so it is not as ridiculous as some make it out to be. However, I do see how it can feel like much more, since the variety is also less here, making the grind feel much more evident. Lastly, there are also the claims that the game is pay to win. If anyone cared to look a little, the ships available as cash-only exclusives are the same ships with different colors. The bonuses found on ships, weapons and modes available only with cash are XP and credit boosts. That is all. Hence, the game does not include overpowered content for cash only. From there on, confrontations are split up into 5 tiers from the 15 available ranks of the ships in the game. Meaning, you bought a rank 15 ship on day 1, good for you, nobody cares. You're still going to fight against tier 5 ships regardless. The biggest problems in the game are some balancing issues, which can be easily fixed by having a smaller ship ranking range per tier, some repetitiveness in the grinding, and above all, the feeling that the game lacks depth in story and worlds. It does not feel like a fleshed out universe, which is fine for a quick jump into a fight title, but for those looking for more exploration and story content, you will be quite disappointed. For a free-to-play space title, it gives for some really wonderful experiences. The character profile, achievements and medals are so fleshed out as is the entire ship progression, making the immersion to a space combat pilot career ideal in many ways. Keep in mind that this is an experience for combat pilots mostly, as opposed to trading, building and exploration pilots found in other similar games, and you should fit right in. Some endgame content is limited and there for those that put in many hours of play and possibly cash as well, like the dreadnoughts, although new similar ships are coming and look like they will be available to everyone. And well, you can't hate a developer for wanting to make a quick and much deserved 10 or 20 bucks from their endgame players. But in all, there is no ship that can be bought for cash that is better than the ships available through just playing the game. In most senses, the game follows a typical free-to-play path. It steers clear of real pay-to-win mechanics, and new content is also constantly added to improve on its formula. Anyone that wants a quick space fight should love this game. Easy to get into, semi-casual controls and a lot of action. The ship varieties really work and it's a blast as you evolve your pilot through his/her career. For such an experience, this game should be perfect for you. If on the other hand you're looking for space exploration and more depth into the universe, along with simulation as well, probably on the lines of X3 or even X Rebirth or perhaps EVE Online, then stay away from this title completely. It will hardly satisfy you with its heavily combat-focused approach. For a more general gamer, the graphics are not the best, but wonderful regardless and accessible. Primarily a combat-focused game with some exploration here and there with little to no story at all to go by. Gamers looking for worlds to be immersed in and become a part of will enjoy this game at times, however will be left empty quite soon, quite fast. For the general market, I would say this is a 4 out of 10, just below average. There is fun to be had, but not too much after that to keep you hooked, unless the combat really did it for you to enter your casual list. If not, the grind curve will turn you off after the first 12 hours if not less. Gamers not into shooters at all or don't like space combat, well, there is no point for you to try this at all. Gamers looking for a good yet casual space combat experience, easy to jump into, a little arcadey at times and look forward to PvP and PvE battles in cockpits, this is just that. Jump in, have fun, shoot enemies and progress through the tiers to glory. 8 out of 10. Far from perfect and has a lot of room for improvement, but definitely a fit to give you some kicks regardless if not get you ultimately hooked. My personal score lies at 7 out of 10, although I usually approach such a title with a want to explore rather than just take place in combat scenarios, I like me some combat too. Star Conflict is not a game I find myself spending too much time on, since I need to be in the right mood for what it is, that being space combat. But when I am in that mood, it is a title that more than satisfies that need and always has me coming back for more. The immersion of making you feel like a mercenary pilot has got me hooked. For anything more than that, however, one should really start to look elsewhere. And that's it for this review, guys, and my thoughts on Star Conflict. If you played this title, let me know in the comments. What did you think of Star Conflict and what are your personal experiences and thoughts on it? If you enjoyed this review, please hit the thumbs up, and if you like our videos, don't forget to subscribe for more right here on the digital creative front. This was HazardReborn, and I'll see you next time.